George, thank you very much indeed. Now, unfair, unprofessional and dangerous. That's how the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, has described Cyprus's multi-billion euro bailout deal, which has been agreed with international lenders. Russia's banks and businesses have significant deposits in Cyprus. Now, the Parliament of Cyprus is meeting later to debate the package. It's not yet been ratified by all the parties in its parliament, but the deal's angered the public because it demands that all bank customers pay a one-off levy. That's led to heavy cash withdrawals, as I'm sure you can imagine. Let's speak to some residents in Cyprus, and we'll also discuss the wider issues as well. Les Jamieson is an expat and lives in Larnaca. Hello, Les.
Morning.
Hiya. Dikran Moskofian also lives in Larnaca. Hello, Dikran.
Hello there.
Hiya. And Ken Quinn is a manager of a Cypriot food company. Hello, Ken.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, good to speak to you. Les, I'll start with you. How would this bailout affect you then if it's approved?
If we go back about a year or so ago, when there was an anxiety about banks possibly going under, all bank accounts were guaranteed for 100,000 euros. We had more than that, so we moved it 150k to 3 different banks to try to protect them.
Yeah.
The news that came out on Saturday morning would mean that 3 lots of 50,000, suddenly we're 10,000 down. So that's the sort of amount that we would have to pay as small investors.
And how do you feel about that?
Well, you're disappointed, aren't you? Because just before the election, the new president and the Ministry of Finance said they may have to privatise the semi-government organisations if they're pressured by the Troika, but there would be no haircuts. We're absolutely adamant about that. And I think they were probably pushed into a very hard place on Friday evening, possibly hijacked, who knows. And when the announcement came on Saturday, thousands of people, expats like myself, Cypriots with savings, all feel let down, betrayed, because they've gone back on what they were guaranteeing.
Well, our correspondent Andrew Walker joins us now. Hello, Andrew.
Hello.
It seems to me, an extraordinary situation where savers' accounts can be scalped in this way. What are the implications?
Well, apart from the obvious and very painful implications for the people whose money is being removed, in terms of the implication across the wider Eurozone, there is certainly the potential for people to get worried that it might happen in future bailouts. I think, though, what has happened here is that the rest of the Eurozone and the International Monetary Fund have taken the view, a bit of a gamble perhaps, but they've taken the view that the worst of the Eurozone crisis is behind them, that there shouldn't be a need for further large-scale bailouts across the Eurozone, and that certainly there aren't any more that are immediately in the pipeline, and so they are hoping that people will not react with panic to this measure in other parts of Europe.
And well, that may be the case immediately, but, you know, as we all know, life moves in cycles, and the recessions come and go, and who's to say that this won't provide a precedent in years to come?
Nobody's to say that, frankly. I mean, I say nobody. I mean, of course, on Saturday morning, early hours of Saturday morning, in Brussels, the president of the Eurogroup, that's the Dutch finance minister, told the journalists who were there that there are no plans for anything similar in relation to other bailouts. He was not prepared to use the words "it is inconceivable in all circumstances" or anything like that. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, if the need were to arise in future for something along these lines, or at least the perceived need for something along these lines, then of course a line has now been crossed. But I emphasise, I think this judgment is being made by Europe and the International Monetary Fund that it probably won't be necessary.
And just let's be clear, Andrew, this would be a tax, not a loan.
Oh, absolutely. You mean from a tax
from
imposed?
From the savers? There'd be no chance of getting any of this money back. Once it went, that was it.
That's right, although they would be getting shares in the banks concerned.
OK. All right, Andrew Walker, thank you very much indeed. Dikran Moskofian joins us, as I said, from Larnaca. Dikran, how do you feel about this? What's the reaction?
Well, to me, it's pretty clear how this affects me in the immediate future, because as a marketing specialist in a marketing company, I advertise for big clients who promote entrepreneurs and investors to come to Cyprus and to establish their businesses, corporations, or ideas thanks to its favorable tax conditions here. And now, looking at my clients, this will have an immediate impact on how we're going to go, how we're going to move forward with advertising. For instance, one of the really big consulting firms that I market for, I've over the weekend immediately stopped advertising, and going to work tomorrow. Obviously, we need to formulate a new idea whether the name Cyprus is a toxic it's very difficult to tell how to proceed in my line of work. So it affects me a lot, and it affects as well my savings. So I'm part of the 6.75%, but I'm not too concerned about that.
Les Jameson still with us, expat who lives in Larnaca, and Ken Quinn is with us as well, a manager of a Cypriot food company. Ken, what's the reaction been amongst expatriates there in Cyprus? Has there been a level of panic or resignation?
I think resignation. I think panic at this stage, whilst it's clear that there are some panic measures, and we've seen the clips on TV with the people going to the ATM machines. Even our own ATM machine here locally was closed today, so we couldn't draw any money out. Obviously, there's people are waiting with bated breath to see whether this is going to be ratified or not. But I think some damage has already been done. It's put Cyprus very clearly in the spotlight from a business point of view. I'm a managing director of a Cyprus food company. And obviously we have suppliers and we have customers that we have to serve. And, there will be questions about how secure Cyprus is. And, we all rely on cash flow and things like that. So I think that there's also finger being pointed at the EU as how this has been done and how they've managed to get away with it, whether it's at all legal or not, and whether it sets a precedent or not, as one of your interviews had just said. If this had happened in Spain or Italy, I'm sure they'd be writing by now. The Cypriot people can be vociferous, but, and they've got deep feelings and they've got accounts, and some of them very small. But, there isn't the outrage yet, but we'll have to wait and see what happens tomorrow, because apparently the banks are closed tomorrow. So
right, well, it's a holiday today, isn't it? So you'd expect them to be closed. But Ken, while we wait for this decision to find out whether it's going to be ratified or not, have any rules been set down about amounts of money that can be withdrawn from bank accounts? Because you would imagine that people will be rushing to put their savings under their mattress.
Well, exactly, and some, of course, that had thought about this before. In my own personal circumstances, I'm sort of in maybe perhaps a minority group. I don't know, because I feel that we should wait and see, because if everybody does this, there's going to be a run on the banks, which is what the worst fears were. I've been trying to send some money electronically to my daughter in Spain for the last 3 days. Every time I go on our website for our local bank, obviously the banks around Cyprus are the same branch, I can't get on it. It's just not open. There's no messages. So I did go to the ATM before this interview just to see whether there's any messages on there. And it just says, sorry, closed, try later. So... Not
reassuring, is it? Les, have you been...
Not reassuring, but to be fair, because I'm not taking account of the Cypriot Greek language, either radio channels or TV channels, not listening to them, I really don't know whether any messages like that have come through, or whether there has been a guarantee on money being available. All
right, Les Jameson's our other expat. Les, have you felt any signs of panic in Cyprus at all? People rushing to their banks, or attempting to, or deciding to do that as soon as they reopen?
There is a sense of resignation. On Saturday, a Greek friend of mine was really panicking. He'd just sold his house, had just picked up 350,000 euros, which he put into his local co-op bank. Suddenly he's contemplating losing 35 grand at a stroke. Now, if people are going to take up arms against the bank, it'll be people like him. And I think what a lot of us are anxious about or concerned about is that we felt there were other targets that could have been more easily hit. There's talk about civil servants who have very high income, who don't contribute to their pensions, who get 13th salary, who get free health care, they have a cost of living allowance, and that would have been a fairly easy target, you feel, to hit, you know. Whereas expats, we have no votes, we are powerless in many ways.
Les and Ken, a question to both of you here. If this is ratified and this so-called haircut comes in and savers lose a percentage, possibly up to 10% of their accounts, do you think people will take to the streets in Cyprus or just accept it?
I think they will take to the streets. There's already a bulldozer parked outside one of the banks in Limassol. I think there will be a lot of anger, yes.
OK. Ken Quinn, Les Jameson, Dikran Moscofian, thank you very much indeed. Your thoughts on that? 85058. Give us a call, 0500 909 693. Time